Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be rating the UR based characters. As you can see here, they're Ultra Awakened, and that means they're actually all in release order already. So this is the release order from Melee to Lance here. And when we're going over who I think the best, of course there's 7 of them, we're going to go over of course, in order who's better, who's worse. I'm going to give you my opinions, reasons why some of them are lower, and why some of them are higher. First, we will start with, of course, I would say probably the worst UR, generally just in every form compared to all the other URs, and that's going to be Lance. I know he is the newest, but goddamn is he bad. He struggles so much, his CC is like, I'll give him HP defense, alright? Let me just give him HP defense. His CC isn't the worst. 71k is not bad. But the problem is, high substats. That amount of crit damage for a attack, or for a HP defense based UR, is pretty bad. What I mean by that is Melee has about 20% more than that, and he was the first UR in the game. I do understand he's New Year, so New Year characters have like unbelievable stats, like stupidly broken stats. But just generally, his stats around the board are mediocre. His pierce rate is pretty good, once again, for a pierce rate based character, but resistance is like okay. Crit chances is like standard. It's not the best. It doesn't actually increase his own crit chance, so I'd actually say it's pretty bad. Crit damage is like mediocre. Crit resistance is pretty bad. For a UR based character, he has about the same crit resistance as Transcendent Barn, which is pretty bad. And his crit defense, once again, isn't the best. I do understand he's meant to take the role as a DPS, so of course, you know, they do have to make him a little bit squishier, but still, it's still kind of low. Skills-wise, it's just pierce rate, no way to increase crit chance. The only way that increases his crit chance is with his ultimate. I know it's a 50% attack-related stat boost, but he relies so highly on having a higher ult level to be able to do anything. In PvE, right, if you got him 1-6, PvE, he's not the worst. And I'll give him credit. In PvE, he's not too bad at 1-6. But in PvP at 1-6, you're going to leave people on like a slither of health. So you need him, for a decent PvP team, you need him at least 4-6. And that's where you start like getting like the decent amount of numbers. So it's like, 1-6 is 60%, 2-6 is 70%. You have to get all the way to 4-6 to make it 80%, and that's where I think it is like good. Right, that's where you're going to be killing people quite well. And once again, another problem, he doesn't even know what team he wants to be on. Humans, defense related stats increased by 15% for each human. Fairies increased base stats by 5% for each one participating in battle. The problem is, right, yes, he's boosting stats, which is a good thing, but then you have the problem of like, humans don't really need defense. We've got Percival for that. And then the problem is humans don't really have that many stat boosters. Who you got? You got Arthur. You got Red Jenna. You're Yuri, right? You're not going to be using Yuri. You might be using Red Jenna, right? But that's it. And they got Arthur. That's all you've got, which isn't much. He would have been better if it was like maybe you got like 5% of each. Or like 5%, 8%, so for each applicable ally, you got 8% defense-related stats and 5% basic stats. So not only would he then be like an offensive support, because he would provide you with like 15% attack, but he'd also be a defensive support, as he then provide you with, of course, the defense from the basic stats, but also the defense from the defense-related stat boost. And I think that probably would have been a much better way to do it. And once again, he does also work with 4 Knights, but once again, the only thing 4 Knights get is the 30% damage reduction. Because only humans and fairies actually get the stat boosts, which is sort of stupid. That's why I think it should be applicable. Allies get all of this, and they just maybe tailor it a little bit, you know, keep the basic stats the same way it is, lower the defense-related stats, and then you have a half-decent human support character who's not only a defensive, but can also be offensive. Because that's the problem with Lance. He's got this cool new ability as well. This is cool, but it's like, he could have been so much better, and I do believe they didn't really know what to do with him. Either that or they've got plans for him in the future, but that's why he has taken the bottom rank. Next is going to be Arthur. Only because Arthur was so good on release, immediately got countered by Gowther. Then humans came back. Then Thor came out, who once again did more damage to taunted enemies. Arthur has a taunt. Then, once again, he wasn't still too bad. Demi came out, completely countered him, like beyond that. Okay, then we had Percival come out, Percival once again, quite good, humans come back for a little bit, and then boom, after that, we have Milim, who wipes the entire map and does damage based off additional HP. And what does Arthur do? Increases HP, because he's HP based, which is like, once again, a complete counter to Arthur, which is a problem. Once again, apart from that, PvE wise, he's still not the worst. PvP, because he has a passive taunt, his damage is pretty good. He's got Infect. His Infect has an additional effect to it. He will probably come back to the meta, sort of like Lance. Like, Lance isn't gone, but unfortunately, the two teams he's on, Fairies, don't have the best CC and aren't really the best. And then humans who don't need any more tankiness because they already got Percival if they want a tank. But yeah. Next one will be Sab. So, I was sort of contemplating between putting Sab and Gowther, sort of like at the same rank, because I see them as like value the same. Gowther's very good when it comes to support for sins and certain PvE things like Night Boss or things that require points, or even PvP currently with Milim and Deanne, which is currently like one of the best teams in the game at the moment. But I thought that once again, Sab, you see her on lots of teams as well. She's good for PvE. Realistically, she's actually better than Gowther for PvE, for like the higher end PvE stuff. So rat, dogs, bird, deer. Only because she doesn't have a rank up. Her stats aren't the worst. Crit damage with attack crit, 278, so it's a little bit higher than Lance, about 10% higher than Lance. She's a little bit lower crit chance, high crit defense, high crit resistance. Lower pierce rate. Once again, she's not really pierce based. She has one pierce skill. Lifesteal's absurd with her. She's a taunt character. She passively applies the taunt. You can apply it with an actual damaging skill, which is really nice. Which is a 40% additional attack-related stat boost with the Mind Break or Enhanced Mind Break enemy. And damage dealt is increased by 20% for each defeated enemy. So you have two of these effects here on this skill, which increase her attack-related stats. And then once again, you then got a crit chance increased skill, which then increases crit damage for each one of these as well. So both of her skills increase her crit chance and her crit damage by a sizable amount. Her ultimate, once again, you do sort of want her about 3, 4, 6. That's when you sort of guarantee the enhanced mind break. Let's just find out where it is. Okay, you don't guarantee one of them. I thought at like 4, 6 you guaranteed enhanced mind break, but apparently not. Removes from the era, mind break. You do get an insane attack-related stat boost though at 6/6. 50% attack-related stats really good. Plus also this yours has a unity as well, and for having a UR-based character that has a unity, not only has she got insane CC, but the fact that then she can give another one of your characters like an additional boost, which is 30% attack-related stats and 5% defense lower, is pretty good. The defense lower is kind of a bad thing, but if you give it to someone like UR-based Escanor who can't be stat lowered, you then just get 30% attack-related stat boost, which is actually better than Roxy, which is only 10%. It's only a 3% boost, but it makes a difference. Also, she has some of the best cuttings. She has the best cutting in the game. Hands down, this is my favourite cutting by a mile. The detail is insane. It's such a lovely cutting, and the outfit is also insane. I love it. The most recent Hawk Boss one, kind of mediocre. But yeah, it's like Sab's like a generally good character. Of course, then you've got Gowther, who once again, he mainly provides support, but his support is really good. Unfortunately, his basic stats are only for sins, but apart from that, the rank enhancement effect is actually quite nice. The ability to, when you remove debuffs, increases your allies' HP by 2% up to 20%. That is not linked to any sort of race or characteristic, which is really nice. In addition, the auto rank up, once again, also super nice for sins, and it can also be quite useful in other PvE areas that, of course, are not like demonic beasts that always have some sort of like, you get penalized if you use any sort of rank up skill. Once again, this is where rank enhancement's really good. You get a 30% pierce rate if you use a level 1 skill when Gowther has rank enhancement. You get a 10% ignore crit resistance and a 30% pierce rate with the level 2 skills. Which, bear in mind, think about like Milim's currently a meta character. You rank up to level 2. She has a skill that does base off pierce rate. She's getting basically a 90% pierce rate boost because of the 3 times multiplier on that skill. And then once again, you got the ignore 10% crit resistance and 20% crit defense, which is pretty handy because it's sort of like having a little bit extra of Sariel Link. It's like having, I think Sariel Link is about 50%. It's about having an extra 20% on top of that, which isn't too bad. But generally, he's a good character. Rank up is pretty good. It's a rank up and a cleanse. Level 1, just one character and a cleanse. Level 2 is everyone and a cleanse. Level 3 is a 20% basic stat boost, everyone and a cleanse. And that's not it. You've then, with his ultimate, got a pierce rate skill. So it actually does quite decent damage, Plus, it also removes old gauge, and it's also the good old gauge removal skill, being 1, 2, and 3 instead of 1, 1, 3, which is what the older characters have. Which means he's actually quite good for ult control, and we didn't really have many good ult control characters, and Gowther is definitely one of them, which is kind of nice to see. Ult level, unfortunately, once again, you do want him like at least 2/6 only, so you have the block skill effect. I don't, I've only got him 1/6 because I'm not allowed to have UR characters higher than 1/6, apart from Thor. And once again, you also get like the basic stat boost, the pulverize increased damage dealt, which is like, it's pretty good. Pulverize on this ultimate is actually, I didn't really actually realize he had pulverize, but pulverize at 6/6, as you can see here, it does scale with ult level, unfortunately, but this is quite a strong ultimate at 6/6. Only because, once again, 40% increased damage dealt per ult gauge you've got 5, 200% damage increase, plus 30% basic stat boost, plus let's say you're running 3 sins, another 15% basic stats, 45% basic stats, rank enhancement, which doesn't actually do anything for ultimates now I think about it, but still, he's just generally a very good UR-based character, and I'm actually surprised he didn't get voted in the vote to be on the most recent banner, Lance's banner. Next is Escanor. So, the reason Escanor is third is because he's good, but he does, once again, quite heavily rely on 2 things. Ult level, him dying, or 3 things actually, and his allies dying. Apart from that, he's really good. Can't be stat lowered. Insane substats. Yes, his crit chance isn't the highest, but once again, he has a skill that increases crit chance. So once again, when I see stuff like that, not too high crit chance, but a skill that is like 2 times or 3 times, I normally say, like, as long as you've got like 120%, you're critting every hit. Let's be real. He has a grace, which means you can't run like Tamiel or Sariel, which is kind of nice, and this grace is not increased by ult level, because it's a grace. So, of course, you can put him on other characters. Of course, if you don't have him 6/6, you won't get the bonus of having the absurd stats that you get from him. Skills-wise, he is quite good. Insane damage everywhere. Once again, I will say he probably exceeds everywhere. I would say the only place he might struggle with is Rat, and that's only because of Valenti. You can't really run 2 humans because you sort of lose the lifesteal, and I think Escanor is probably going to want at least a little bit of lifesteal. Actually, no, he's got about 19%. That's actually pretty good. Defense-related stats are okay. I'm pretty sure he does also increase his all stats. Increase the hero, all stats of the hero increased by 5% for each ally, so once again pretty good. When the ally dies, 20% attack related stats that can stack up to, of course, as many allies die. Immune to stat decrease effects is also absurd as well, it's really cool. Applicable allies, once again, humans and sins, pretty standard stuff, but he's generally such a good character. At first, once again, I thought he was kind of mediocre because he did quite heavily rely on the gimmick of allies dying, but over time, and once again, we had more humans released. Jenna's pretty good support. You know, Arthur sort of comes back every now and again. Null for me was also quite a good support for him for the damage increase. He's just generally a good character. PvE-wise, I think he will always sort of maybe not be as good as some of the others, especially the number 2 that we're going to see soon, but he's just a good character. And I really like this outfit, which is the most recent Labyrinth outfit for him. On to number 2 character, which is pretty obvious, it's Thor. Thor is absurdly good everywhere. PvE, PvP, on her release she was busted, AoE death damage, doesn't rely on the ult level. Her ult level doesn't really matter, as long as you have a like 2/6, you're pretty good. I do have a 5/6, I got really lucky at the end of a rotation and pulled her like 4 times. Generally, she's such a good character. Her CC is pretty good, 72k, this is with attack crit. Her attack related stats are really good, defense related stats are good, pierce rate is good, resistance is like just above subpar, lifesteal is good, crit chance moves that ignore 80% of crit defense. You had Sariel Link on top of that, 120 to 130% crit defense lower. That's how much she ignores, which is basically all their crit defense, apart from characters like LR Queen Diane, which is the most recent LR, and Melee, Demon King Melee, when he has max orbs. And once again, another move, when she gets her buff, basically, she ignores 100% crit resistance, which means with 100% crit chance, and plus the 30% she gets from her buff, you're looking at like she's critting everyone guaranteed, which is really insane, especially with this skill, because the multiplier isn't too high, but the fact that it's spike as well is pretty absurd. And her ultimate, once again, unfortunately the falling below HP thing is sort of ult level tied, but apart from that, she doesn't really roll on ult level. The ult level damage is actually insane. It automatically applies to her buff if you have 2/6 or higher, and then the Thunderbolt damage is pretty good. Inflicts. It doesn't actually say what Thunderbolt damage actually is. Normally it says what it is here. It doesn't actually state what it is. I'm pretty sure Yeah, Thunderbolt is 2 times crit damage and ignores crit resistance. So yeah, it's an absurdly powerful move. And once again, Thunder God's protection, allies damage taken is decreased by 30%, and the hero is immune to all damage. That is, of course, when her HP gets below 20%. But yeah, she's a very good character. She doesn't only work with Ragnaroks and Unknowns, but thankfully for her, Unknowns are a pretty good race. They've got, once again, lots of collaboration characters, but they've also got lots of Ragnarok characters, Catastrophe characters, and the odd Sin here and there, which is pretty handy for them. It means they have quite a wide range of characters to pick from, which is pretty nice. And yeah, that's really it for Thor. She has, like, a few problems. That's once again, like, if the enemy's too tanky, she can't get her buff because she needs to do 300k or take 300k to do, like, to get her buff. That is her only real weakness. But apart from that, she minced the meta when she was a thing, which was really cool to see. And of course, number 1 is Melee. I hate Melee with a burning passion only because he is still as broken as he is. I do believe Melee was, I think, maybe a little bit too broken. He was the first UR in the game. He is still pretty good. I think my only real, I guess, problem with him now is PvE. Like, now we had characters like Thor and Shion and characters that have a consistent damage, like insanely good, consistent, like high damage. Melee doesn't have that. Melee has either one powerful AoE or one powerful single target, then you've got to build up his passive, get the boost, do the same thing, but apart from that, you know, he's got auto cleanse, he works with sins, he works with demons, he's got like 30% defense lower for the enemies, which if you're running specific characters, you may require that to be able to guarantee these really high damage crits. Once again, your allies can apply the defense lower if they're applicable allies. Basic stat boost. You know, he's just so busted. Auto cleanse. Look at all of these things. He works with demons and sins. He's just really good. And once again, his damage is unbeatable. Like AoEs wise, like I'm talking like Hero Arena. If you're doing Hero Arena, right? Even without the buff, if you're doing like 340k, this melee gets an AoE off. You got 3 stacks of the Seeds of Doom. You are dead. Like, he's wiping your team. Doesn't matter how tanky you are, he's wiping you. That's how this melee is just going to be that broken for ages. Stats-wise, insane crit chance. This is with HP defense, by the way. 266 HP defense, which is, I think, nearly as much as Lance. And this guy's also missing weapons as well. Let me give him attack crit, just so we can see the crit damage. 286. That's absurd. And he's missing, I think, 2 weapons as well. Crit defense is really good. Crit resistance is just below 100, which is pretty good still. Resistance is high. Pierce rate is high. This isn't even a pierce. This character's not even pierce based. He's just so powerful. AoE is really broken. Single target is absurd. 2 times crit damage when he has the buff. Like, that's a 500% multiplier skill with 2 times crit damage. Plus, when he gets a 50% attack related stat boost. So what is that? Like, 336% crit damage? Yeah, it's pretty good. With a nearly 200% crit chance, he's critting everyone. He's obliterating. And he, once again, is still quite good to this day. And you still see him in PvP teams. Not only has he got absurd CC, he's really good. And once again, I don't think Melee's ever really going to leave. Unless, once again, we get another better Melee. I don't think this Melee's ever going to leave, like, some sort of aspect of this game, whether that be PvE or PvP. He's always going to be on a team somewhere. Whether that's Demon King, or Brat, or, you know, being on the Demon team. He's going to be on one of those teams. Auto cleanse, insane damage. His ultimate's really powerful, especially at the higher ult levels. He's generally good character, and that's the reason why I've put Melee at number 1. Realistically, if I was to go favourites, Thor or Sab would be number 1. This Sab outfit's like my favourite by a mile. Thor, once again, insanely busted character. Love her design. Love everything to do with it. Really cool. Generally cool outfits as well. Hall Pass outfit. I ran this outfit because it's really cool. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on your, I guess, how you would rate the UI-based characters. Goodbye.